waiting on Karen, right? Call to order the regular meeting of the Gurnee Village Board, June 3rd, 2024. Roll call, please.
O'Brien.
Present.
Balmas.
Present.
Thorstensen.
Here.
Woodside.
Here.
Ross.
Here.
Garner. 5 present.
You all stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag. Welcome, everybody. We start with the approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion by Trustee Balmas, second by Trustee O'Brien. Roll call, please.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Balmas.
Aye.
Thorstensen.
Yes.
Woodside.
Aye.
Ross.
Aye.
5 aye.
Motion carries. Pat?
Item number 1, approval of the minutes on the May 20th, 2024 meeting. Item number 2, approval of Information System Division's recommendation to renew annual Environmental Systems Research Institute, Inc., ESRI, GIS software maintenance agreement for a period of 1 year at a cost of $20,991, State of Innovation and Technology sole source contract, CMT 4185526. Item number 3, approval of Fire Department request to allow Battalion Chief Bob Haraver and firefighter paramedic Alex Frank to attend the Spartan 2024 Fire Truck Training Conference in Lansing, Michigan from September 29, 2024 to October 4, 2024 at a cost of $3,100. Item number 4, approval of granting a Class 9 liquor license and waiving the fee for the Exchange Club of Gurnee for its Gurnee Days event on August 10th and 11th, 2024. Item number 5, approval of setting a bid date of July 29, 2024 for the Rudd Court Water Main Improvement Project. Item number 6, approval of payroll for period ending May 17, 2024 in the amount of $1,152,045.46. Item number 7, approval of bills for period ending June 3, 2024 in the amount of $3,766,418.26.
Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Motion by Trustee Thorstensen, second by Trustee Ross. Roll call, please.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Balmas.
Aye.
Thorstensen.
Yes.
Woodside.
Aye.
Ross.
Aye.
5 aye.
Motion carries. On to petitions and communications. The first item on the agenda for that is approval of proclamation designating June 12, 2024 as Women Veterans Recognition Day in the Village of Gurnee. Women Veterans Day is observed on June 12th because on this day in 1948, President Harry S. Truman signed the Women's Armed Services Integration Act, which enabled women to serve as full members in any branch of the military. Even though women have served in the U.S. military since the Revolutionary War, their contributions have been overlooked or undervalued. This pivotal moment marked a significant milestone in the ongoing progress towards gender equality and inclusivity in the armed forces. Women's Veterans Day highlights the important role that women have played in defending our nation with exceptional bravery and honor. By recognizing the sacrifices made by women veterans and their families, Women Veterans Day honors their service in safeguarding the liberties and values of our country. Now, therefore, I, Thomas Hood, Mayor of Gurnee, do hereby proclaim June 12, 2024 as Women Veterans Day in the Village of Gurnee and encourage all citizens to honor our women veterans and express gratitude for their selfless service, valor, and dedication to protecting our freedom. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Trustee O'Brien, second by Trustee Thorstensen. Yes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. I know that there are a number of women veterans. Unless you've suddenly obtained new hat wear, I think I can tell who they might be, not to say that they're the only ones. Would you like to come down and be recognized and have a picture taken? Is that okay, or is that okay? All right.
Stevens, U.S. Navy, 6 years. Samantha Garcia, U.S. Navy, 4 years. Taryn Mata, U.S. Army, 11 years.
Terry Waddell, mentor, United States Air Force for 6 years. Was commissioned as a second lieutenant, got it as an 03, and I'm honored to serve my country. Thank you, Mayor Hood, for doing this. Women veterans are so under the totem pole. We don't get the recognition that we do. I brought this to you. I thank you so much for proclaiming this, to doing this proclamation. I thank you, and I salute you.
I don't think I can salute back. There's something I can't do, right?
I'll teach you.
I didn't serve, yes, right, yes.
Thank you, Mayor. Zoe McNutt, United States Navy, 12 years.
Thank you. So I just want to say that I do appreciate what the choices you've made, and as men or women have made choices that have provided for the freedom that we have today. And I think sometimes I for myself, certainly have lost track of the fact that when I walk through the city or village of Gurnee, the freedoms I have here that people don't have around the world, I owe it to people just like you. So thank you for making the choice, for serving, for protecting us, and doing all the things that you do. So certainly, thanks again.
Thank you again, sir.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the acceptance of Josh, I'm not going to remember how to pronounce his name, Pishek, sorry, resignation from the Planning and Zoning Board. I appreciate the time that he's served. He's moved to Grays Lake, not all that far away, but he did move. So, and you need to be in the village of Gurnee, and therefore that's the reason for number 3, is the approval of my recommendation to appoint Ronita Martin to the Planning and Zoning Board. And Ronita's present here today, so thank you, Ronita, for offering to serve. And is there a motion?
Motion approved.
Motion by Trustee Thorstensen, second by Trustee Ross. Roll call.
Roll call. O'Brien.
Aye.
Thomas.
Aye.
Thorstensen.
Yes.
Woodside.
Aye.
Ross.
Aye.
5-0.
So motion carries, and for those that know Ronita, she's has in the past provided service to the village of Gurnee and been a part of economic development. So really appreciate that. And she made the mistake of telling me that she retired and was looking for something to do. So she found it. So thank you very much for that. And thank you, Sherman, for allowing us to have your wife for brief moments here and there. So thanks. All right, so on to, there's no reports, no old business, and on to new business. Approval of ordinance 2024,
46.
adding one Class 7 liquor license by amending Section 6-56 of Article 2 of Chapter 6 of the Gurnee Municipal Code entitled Alcoholic Beverages to Aha Sushi, 5101 Washington Street, Suite 3. Pat?
Sure. So Aha Sushi previously held a Class 7 liquor license, let that expire in May 2021 under new ownership, and they reapplied for the Class 7. So just a reminder, the Class 7 is the sale of beer and wine for consumption only on premise where sold. Police Department conducted all the necessary background checks, found nothing to preclude the license, so it's before you for consideration.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Trustee Ballmer, second by Trustee Woodside. Roll call, please.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Thomas.
Aye.
Thorstensen.
Yes.
Woodside.
Aye.
Ross. 5-0.
Motion carries. Item number 2, approval of ordinance 2024,
47.
adding one Class 1 liquor license by amending Section 6-56 of Article 2 of Chapter 6 of the Gurnee Municipal Code entitled Alcoholic Beverages, Round 1 Bowling and Arcade, 6136 West Grand Avenue. Pat?
Sure. So I think as everyone knows, Round 1's opening out at Gurnee Mills next to Hobby Lobby in the next month or so. It's a multi-entertainment facility offering bowling, arcade games, billiard, party room, karaoke, ping pong, darts, and a kids' play zone. It's applied for a Class 1, so that's the sale of alcoholic liquor for consumption on premise where sold, as well as the sale and service of to-go mixed drinks per state statute. They do offer food out there, pizza, wings, sides like french fries, nachos, et cetera. So typical food you'd find at a family entertainment center. Similar to Sushi, police department conducted all their necessary background checks and found nothing to preclude the license, so it's before you this evening.
And is there a motion regarding number 2 for
Moved.
this?
Second.
For trustee Balmas, and then trustee O'Brien as a second. Roll call, please.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Balmas.
Aye.
Thorstenson.
Yes.
Woodside.
Aye.
Ross.
Aye.
5 aye.
Motion carries. Item 3, approval of ordinance 2024,
48.
granting a variation from the R2 district minimum lot area requirement pursuant to the Gurnee zoning ordinance for 3437 Cheyenne Road. Pat?
Sure. So I had a memo from our recently retired planning manager, Tracy Velkover, on this, her last memo to the village board. So the owners of 3438 Cheyenne, which is directly across the street, purchased 3437 back in March with the desire to subdivide the property into 2 lots, continuing, and they want to rent out the home that's on the existing property and then use the western portion for their passive recreational uses. So the size of the lot allows for 2 conforming lots at the location, but the house and the garage are more towards the center of the lot, so you can't split it down the middle. If the house was 13 feet over to the east, you would be able to, and the variance wouldn't be needed. It would meet the minimum 15,000 square foot per lot requirement, but again, the house is more towards the center of the lot, hence the need for the variance. So where they're looking to split it, the western parcel ends up at 13,375 square feet, so just underneath that 15,000 square feet a little bit. It's worth noting that the home on and the garage on the lot are somewhat small compared to the size of the overall lot. Only takes up around 5%. The maximum building coverage allowed under that district is 30%, so plenty of room there. And with the new lot, if the property owner decided to sell that at some point in the future, the size of that lot, you'd be able to build just over a 4,000 square foot home on that. So still 2 pretty decent sized lots, but again, just under that 15,000 square foot requirement if it's subdivided, so the variance is required. It was before the Planning and Zoning Board, received a unanimous favorable recommendation, and is before you tonight for consideration.
So is there any discussion or questions to my right or to my left? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by trustee O'Brien,
Second.
second by trustee Ross. Roll call, please.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Balmas.
Aye.
Thorstenson.
Yes.
Woodside. Aye. Ross.
Aye.
5 aye.
Motion carries. On to item 5, approval of ordinance 2024,
49?
granting 4 special use permits pursuant.
Nope.
Oh, sorry, did I?
Yep.
Oh, you're right. Let me bump up to 4. Trying to get it done too quick. Approval of ordinance 2024,
49.
49, granting a zoning map amendment pursuant to the Gurnee zoning ordinance for 4015 Grove Avenue.
Okay. I thought this memo was from Autran, but this one's from Tracy. So this is the last memo from Tracy that you'll see. So Imports Unlimited, Inc. has petitioned for a zoning map amendment to rezone 4015 Grove Avenue from C2 PUD to I2 PUD. They are looking to move his auto repair facility. It's currently located in Highland Park to this location. According to the website, they specialize in BMW, Mercedes, Lexus, Audi, and Volkswagen repairs, as well as restoration of Jaguars and Land Rovers. This lot is currently vacant, so this is up next to Associated Bank, just to the east of Associated Bank on the south side of Grove Avenue. Again, was before the Planning and Zoning Board for discussion earlier. They found that all the standards for the rezoning were met, and they're forwarding a unanimous favorable recommendation.
So are there any questions to my right, to my left? Trustee Balmas.
Will they have access on the south side of that property then, or will they only be able to go out onto Grove? I mean, it looks like.
Sure, David's gonna.
All access will be off of Grove Avenue.
All the access will be. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Trustee
I was just going to make a note that the Planning and Zoning Board details, including the recording, were comprehensive, were very helpful. I know Tracy added something back in when they were looking at the amount of variance up against the potential for the, like, apartments nearby. So just wanted to say good catch, and I think that really helped to make it clear.
Okay, thanks. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by trustee Balmas,
Second.
second by trustee Thorstensen. Roll call, please.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Balmas.
Aye.
Thorstensen.
Yes.
Woodside.
Aye.
Ross.
Aye.
5-0.
Motion carries. On to item 5. Approval of ordinance 2024,
50.
granting 4 special use permits pursuant to the Gurnee zoning ordinance to allow installation of 2 freestanding signs for Gurnee Community Church located at 4555 Old Grand Avenue. Pat?
Sure. So had a pretty detailed memo from our senior planner, Autran. On this one, Gurnee Community Church is requesting to install 2 new signs, both which require special use permits. The church intends to replace the existing sign along Grand Avenue, install a new sign at the northeast corner of the site, and then remove a wood sign along Old Grand Avenue. The sign along Grand Avenue is proposed to be internally illuminated, 2-sided, screened box sign cabinet with raised letters mounted on 2 aluminum pole covers, masonry stone base that matches the building. It measures 14 3/4 feet in height, 76 square feet. Also includes a 36 square foot electronic message board on it. The non-electronic portion of the sign cabinet also, it features the church's logo and the name. As you know, and outlined on Autran's memo, we have restrictions on electronic message boards, so there's 10 restrictions that go along with this. The church stated they would be able to meet all those requirements on that portion. The height of the proposed sign would be the same as the existing sign, which has been in place for the last 60 years. The height exceeds code, so that requires a special use permit, and then the maximum sign area also exceeds code, so that requires a special use permit. The new sign at the northeast corner is proposed to be internally illuminated, single-face monument sign with aluminum sign cabinet attached to masonry stone base that would match the building, same as the other one. 6 feet tall, 20 square feet, or 27 square feet in area. Include the church's logo, name, and have a detachable panel announcing the church's events. This also exceeds the sign area and requires a special use permit. With the additional square feet that is being requested by the church, as I mentioned earlier, they are proposing to eliminate the wooden sign, double post wooden sign along Old Grand Avenue. That's further to the west. That's about 15 square feet in disrepair, non-conforming to setbacks and landscape requirements. I was before the PZB on May 15th. I received a unanimous favorable recommendation. We did have 1 letter sent in from Sean Depke stating his concerns about the sign against it. Other than that, I'm not aware of any other public comment. Again, PZB reviewed it May 15th, received a unanimous favorable recommendation, and it is before you tonight for consideration.
Right, I'll start with to my left, just for any comments or questions with regard to this particular issue.
I have one question. The base of the sign, that since this is in the floodway, is it changing? Is it impacting the floodway in any way?
No, the base will be similar in size to what the former base was before it was demolished. I believe this area is floodplain, not floodway, so therefore we don't have the moving water components with it. So long as all the electronic switches and controllers are elevated above the floodplain, there will not be an issue with the base.
Thank you.
Any questions or comments? Trustee O'Brien?
I like the look of the new sign generally, and I'm not worried about how large they are, but the electronic message board, at least on our memo, looks like a big screen TV on Grand Avenue. It's even 5 square feet more than the last one we approved.
Good. Trustee Thorstensen?
So I'm somewhat looking at this, I believe I'm looking at the same sign. So first of all, the one over on Old Grand with the brick around it is very tasteful, very nice. It should fit really well in our Old Grand area of the community, I believe. I am generally pro signs because I think we need to be able to help residents when they're maneuvering through town. However, it just looked like, it brought me back to, I don't remember if it was Rohrman's sign, but if you look at it, one third or more is Gurnee Community Church up top. Then the 2/3 have I believe it's going to be a static image, correct? A static image? Because on this page,
You're referring to this sign? So
Right.
this is one along Grand Avenue, so this image right there, that's the electronic message board.
so it will not be static.
Will not be static. It'll have to conform to the 10 restrictions that we have on electronic message board signs. So it is allowed to change the image
Every 30 seconds.
every 30 seconds.
And it is a still image while it is being displayed. There's no movement allowed.
I guess it was conflicting with number 1, which said no portion of the image may flash, scroll, twirl, change color.
So it's static is that it'll be up and not flash. There will be no
Blinking.
motion, anything like that. It'll just be a picture that won't move.
Got it.
So I think I misinterpreted what you meant by static.
Well, I think I did too.
Sorry.
So I was just thinking, what would a church be sharing every 30 seconds? Generally, it would be your hours of your mass hours or service hours, which are listed in the very bottom. That one was surprising to me because I thought if there was slough or some type of grasses that grew, I would think you'd want that near the top, maybe flip it. And I am not a design person, but so be that as it may, it just seemed a little odd compared to how the other one looks over on Old Grand.
Okay. Trustee Russ?
I've always been against electronic message boards.
So you have.
Yes, and I just think that especially along 132 Grand Avenue there, a lot of cars go by, and I think it's distracting.
So I guess the question I'd ask would be, is it something that you'd be interested in tabling and having them change it to where you think that it would be, they'd find something acceptable, or do you think that they couldn't do something acceptable? As I read the room, would seem like it would be unsuccessful if we voted tonight. Would you be interested in that or no? I mean, we could just take the vote and there'd be whatever the results are, or we could table it and ask them to make changes. Cheryl probably won't help you any, but maybe the bottom two, maybe.
Mayor, is a representative here?
It's the sign.
Oh,
person.
North Shore sign? Yes. Would you like to ask questions? If you'd like to step up to the microphone, sir. Oh, there's Gary. Sorry, I didn't see. What?
More questions about the actual sign itself or what they'll be putting on the sign church-wise?
Sounds like we have both. So why don't we start with you, and then Mr. Ellsbury can ask.
Yeah, so my name is Matt Laska. I represent North Shore Sign. So I can answer any questions regarding both signs or the electronic message board as well, so.
Okay, why don't we start with this? It sounds, Trustee O'Brien, did you have specific questions?
Well, maybe it's just the image that was given to us here, but it looks really just like a big screen TV with lots of colors and everything else, which may be distracting on the slight curve that's on Grand Avenue when kids are trying to go to school or parents are trying to drop them off.
So that is part of the video board. However, anything that is put on the message board is entirely controllable by the church. So they can put either a static image that'll stay still for 30 seconds or just text with a dark background as well. This is a sign that's completely customizable. It has a photo cell built in, so it's also dimming and brightening during the day, and at night it'll be lowest percentage for terms of brightness, and during the day, when it's got the sun reflecting on it, it'll be brighter just to combat the sun glare on it. But essentially, the church is able to just put either just text messages up there, they can put an image, it is really, they can put whatever they want, and that fits the 10 points that Gurnee has. So even though that one image, that drawing basically shows this bright, colorful image, it doesn't have to, it can do much more than that, so.
And so that we don't keep superseding other ones, is it possible to change the size of that video message part to 31.2 square feet like The last one we approved?
It is possible, yes. This is, when we sell these types of signs, we also take into consideration not only the sizing of the sign that's people driving by. This is very similar to the size copy board that they have now in terms of square footage. So essentially, we kept the video board the same square footage, so the church isn't losing potential messaging that they have currently on their sign. So this is very similar in size to what is there now.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Trustee Thorstensen, did you have?
Yeah, so, thank you. Have you done this type of image work at another church?
I've been with North Shore for about 10 years. Myself, I've done about probably 5 dozen different churches all across Waukegan, Lake County, Gurnee, Libertyville, all that kind of stuff. And again, like I mentioned, these are very interchangeable what the church wants to do. I know with Gary and the Gurnee Community Church, they have not just obviously mass times that they need to display, but they have, Bible studies, family events, tons of different things like that. These types of signs are very good for not only church, but school districts, which is what we do a lot of as well.
Yes, and it's a very nice community church. I was just thinking, as Cheryl was saying, you've got a slight bend there and no stoplight right in front of it, whereas the one that comes to mind is right by Jewel. That
Village Church.
Village Church of Gurnee, where I believe they have a sign,
Yeah,
but you can stop at the stoplight.
Yeah, but their sign doesn't move,
I know,
static.
but you can stop at the stop sign and see it, whereas now we don't have a stop sign or a stoplight there, and it's going to be moving. So I'm just a little, I guess, concerned about the amount of motion that we're going to add to that area that has no ability for someone to stop and look at it.
Well, one thing to take in consideration also, when people are driving by, they're driving anywhere from about 45 to 60 miles an hour. That I've lived in Gurnee. I've seen people drive that way. but basically, they're driving by that sign. It's not flashing a new image every few seconds. It's going to be up for 30 seconds. So it's not like by the time you get past the church, you're going to see 3 different messages. You're only going to see the one image at a time that you drive by.
True. Okay.
I'll interject. When we designed the 10 standards for the special use permit that we implemented with the first one, which was across the street at O'Plain campus of Warren Township High School, we used the speed of the road to basically ensure that, based upon the size of the sign, no one is going to see more than one change of the sign. If you happen to hit it on that 30-second mark, you're going to see 2 images, but they're going to be instantaneous static images, and you're not going to see multiple images as you're driving down. So the idea was to limit the amount of distraction in that you'll only see it change at most 1 time.
Is there any thought, David, about where the image is versus the still areas? There's your address or URL at the bottom with I think the service times, and up top is just the logo, and in the middle?
We try not to get into the design of the sign. We're, more objective in our standards. The size of the text, the size of the square footage of the sign area, the type of sign, the electrical connections. We've really tried to stay out of designing what content goes where on the sign. Partly because we can't. There's some content neutrality standards that are, legal standards. So we can't really mandate. All we can say is you're limited to this area, this height, this size.
I just didn't know if there was something in where your vision line would be, but I guess not.
The bottom of the bottom of the text on this is 6 feet above grade. So it's going to be, I think the site sits about 3 feet, 4 feet below Grand Avenue at that location. So it's going to be about even, the bottom of the text, the worship times are going to be about even with the hood of your car, roughly.
And then maybe just the last quick one is, kind of looks like it's some type of what's the material, the black around it? It looks like it might be some type of a metal.
On the posts?
The posts and everywhere where it's black?
So on the cabinet, that's like the structure of the cabinet.
Oh, okay.
So that's where the ID portion where it's got the name and then the hours, that's what will hold those faces in place as well as the lighting for those pieces. And on the poles, those would just be decorative pole covers, so you're not just seeing two exposed poles in the ground. These would be two black metal post covers, just to give it a little more character. And obviously with the flooding and stuff like that, these are finished with an acrylic polyurethane, so it's basically an automotive paint. So it'll be built to last as well, especially with the paint, and then with the sun being directly on it as well.
And the stone on your other side sign, that's not as durable for the weather? And
No, it's the same stone, both signs.
where is the stone on the Grand Avenue sign?
The very bottom.
That wasn't visible to me.
No.
Okay. Would have liked a little bit more stone, but I'm fine.
Mr. Ross, you stated your opinion and you're sticking to it.
I think it would be fine to table it and come back to it.
Okay.
So all these people don't have to.
Right.
Motion for that?
Yes. If
Motion to
everybody's-
table?
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, so motion by trustee O'Brien, second by trustee Thorstensen to table the motion. And roll call, please.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Thomas.
Aye.
Thorstensen.
Yes.
Woodside.
Aye.
Ross. 5-0.
Right, so the motion be tabled at this point, and if you would be able to go back and talk to Mr. Ziegler, and also we'll have an opportunity to discuss how the sign might be more favorable or possibly towards you guys or not. I mean, can't guarantee a yes or a no, so thanks. All right. Now for the time that everybody's come for, right? Or most everybody. So this is the portion of the public comment and which you are able to come up to the microphone and state your name. And just a couple of general instructions is that if your issue happens to be opposed or divisive, it's always more difficult when people clap for one side or the other. If you just state your opinion, the board won't have a specific response. Sometimes that feels a little unfulfilling. But we listen to what you have to say, and sometimes there's some things afterwards, after the meeting or something, we'd be able to have some conversations with you. But we're certainly willing to hear whatever each one of you has to say, or if you have a representative from your group, that would be good as well. So, and whatever you happen to be talking about, it could be different issues tonight, I'm not sure. I know one issue, but there might be multiple issues. So, so if you just start with your name, and like I said, it just, we'll be happy to listen to whatever you have to say. Thanks. Just state your name.
Good evening. My name is Jory Stuckwish, and I live on Belle Plaine Avenue with my husband and 2 small children. I'm here to state my opposition to the pad shelter location proposed for 3740 Grand Avenue. I appreciate the importance of services to the unhoused. I actually work for the largest nationwide nonprofit hospital system, and I work to help the underserved access resources every day. At the same time, I care about how a shelter at this location will impact neighborhood safety, local businesses, and property values. And the truth is, we don't know what the impact would be. The PADS executive stated to me that this new model for a fixed shelter is a, quote, experiment. And personally, I don't want my neighborhood to be an experiment. I'm very disappointed in the lack of transparency from PADS. I only learned of the May 13th meeting by chance, hours beforehand. If it wasn't for that, no one in the immediate area would have known about that meeting. Afterwards, I reached out to Ellen Dean, the economic director, and coordinated the PADS meeting for May 28th, which otherwise would not have happened. The meeting was attended by Alan Swilley, PADS director, and trustee Kevin Woodside, PADS president, and Gurnee Village board member, as well as nearly 100 other attendees, the majority of which were not in favor of the Grand Avenue shelter location. By attending the 2 meetings, I gathered the following concerning details. The shelter will house 90 adult single occupants and 27 rooms. The Evanston shelter that PADS has referenced only houses up to 60 occupants in 40 rooms. About 20 20% of the shelter occupants will have vehicles, and PADS does not enforce that they have a valid driver's license. These are vehicles that will be driving in my neighborhood, a neighborhood filled with bus stops and school bus stops and several in-home daycares and an elementary school. The screening process for the shelter excludes sex offenders. However, this is the only felony that excludes occupants for eligibility. No drug testing is performed for occupants before or during their stay, and more that I don't have time to list. Perhaps there is a location better suited for a shelter, one of the more than 30 other locations PADS has said they're considering, a location that is not as vulnerable to the effects a shelter may have, a location and a location whose commerce was not so hard hit by over a decade of construction on the Route 41 overpasses, a location that is not within walking distance of 2 parks, multiple daycares, and an elementary school. The community has provided amazing feedback on ideas for alternate uses for this property. Probably the most exciting, partnering with the College of Lake County to convert the old hotel into dorms for CL students. Gurnee already has a partnership with CLC where the former Lowe's was converted to the CLC Tech Center. Tonight, I ask the village board, for the people who voice their opinions about the location of the shelter and speak here tonight, please consider who actually lives, works, or owns property or a business in the area near 3740 Grand Avenue. The people in the immediate area are the ones who will be directly impacted by this decision, and we deserve this consideration. Thank you all so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, so just a minute. Really would prefer, like, there's opposing viewpoints, so clapping on either side sometimes is not easy to take. I get it that there's a larger group of you that oppose it, right? So please let each person talk. My concern is that someone that might talk on behalf of it will feel oppressed. So doing my best to keep it an equal playing floor and want to hear what each one of you has to say without feeling like you can't express your opinion because the group will boo you down. So doing my best, all right? So please try. Thanks.
Good evening, and thank you so much for giving me a chance to speak. My name is Lori Isaacson, and I live on Deer Run. I'm a one-year resident of Gurnee, and I just want to say thank you to Jory for everything you just articulated. I'm not going to repeat because I can't challenge it in any way, shape, or form. What I can say is that I lived in West LA for 10 years, and the level of homelessness that I witnessed is without words. The impact on the community and how it touched me personally, I am confused. I'd like to ask Mr. Woodside a question, given that you are the president of PADS.
There aren't going to be any questions tonight from the board members. You can make a statement.
I'd like to throw out to all of you in the room that given we pay real estate taxes, we pay for auto insurance, we have a driver's license, hopefully we don't do illegal drugs, and we are members of a community to allow individuals that have no consequence to any of their actions is really, truly outrageous. And I'm saddened because I moved to Gurnee after living in LA for 10 years and thought I was kind of coming to Little House on the Prairie. And now I'm a bit freaked out. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Jerry Locks, and with my wife, I've operated a Gurnee Garden Center for 51 years. I believe this impacts me more than anyone. I'm 20 feet away. I asked the board to consider the vast majority of my employees, and right now I have 52, are women and high school kids. I absolutely guarantee you, if this happens, I am going to lose some of my valued longtime employees. It may not be fair, but perception can be reality. And it's just going to really hurt me. You know, maybe in 4 or 5 years, I'd like to sell my business, and I believe it would hurt that. The PADS person said that a couple of these and other areas are not in residential or retail business areas. This will hurt me. There's just no doubt it will hurt me. And no one wants to be against homelessness. And I believe everything that the person from PADS said about how many there are in Lake County. I just don't think this would be a good thing for the neighborhood, for my business, myself, and my employees.
Thank you.
Village, I'm here again. Unfortunately, there's no flooding this time, but
You have to state your
we'll
name,
never
Sean,
know
so
when
we know
there
you.
will be flooding again.
Sean
So,
Depke.
2 issues. Sean Depke is my name.
Thank you.
2 issues. The church, the people who spoke earlier, I'm against it. I filed the objection because of flooding. It seems like we have 2 standards in this village, one for the church and one for everybody else. That's not right. I may go to hell, but I have a lot of friends down there with me. But the church shouldn't get what the church wants just because it's a church. Number 1, this pads thing, it's the most ridiculous idea I've ever heard. I voiced my opinion before, and I've talked to you before, Tom, about things. Bad idea, wrong place, wrong time, wrong everything. Why would you want to bring it to the community? The east side and the downtown. We've been downtown for years, as I said the last meeting. 1929, my name's on the building, my father's name. McClure's Garage, I drove by today, I think it was 1911. They're the oldest 2 businesses I know of in Gurnee. There may be more, I don't know. But why would you put this project, why would you even want this idea? It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen come to the village. You can't even fix the flooding after 60 years. Why would you want to put a homeless center, or whatever it's called, right in downtown next to businesses? I've talked to several businesses, several people. I haven't seen anybody against it except the 2 people that spoke the other day at the one meeting. And Chief, or Mr. Trustee, or whatever, you're on the PADS committee, or whatever you're on, you announced, so I'm not bringing anything up that wasn't announced at the meeting here. He should have to abstain from everything. He shouldn't even be talking about this issue. He's a political elected official. He's on the PADS board. He shouldn't be talking about this. I'm not a lawyer. Tom, you are. You should know this. Just like Minute of Winners, we went round and round about signs. I won. You lost. Don't make me do this again. Don't make me go, because this time, if I do go, and this is not a threat, if this goes and you make me push the buttons, I'm not getting any younger, but I will take all of you to court. And we will go to federal court, just like when you denied my tattoo guy. Don't mess with me. I'm warning you, and I'm telling you, don't do it.
Sounds like a threat, Sean, so, hey.
Take it as you want, Tom. Take it as you want.
You'd like to step up to the microphone and state your name, please?
I'm not sure if I want to. Okay.
You're fine. You're
I'm Kathy Hall. I live 4 houses down from what is currently an unacceptable property. There's no doubt about that. And when I first heard of this, which seemed, I mean, as was mentioned, it just seemed rushed, and all of a sudden, oh, look, this is what we're going to do. When I first heard of it, I actually thought, you know, this might be good. We're going to have more supervision, maybe, and give it a chance. When I came to the meeting, some things jumped out at me that made me realize maybe this isn't a good idea. The very first being about the drug testing. There's no drug testing. At least that's what the PADS coordinator said. Now, from their own statistics, 32% of the people are substance abuse. They're having trouble with substance abuse. So if there's no drug testing, how are we going to get them out of the spiral that they're in if there's no accountability for what they're doing? So there needs to be more than just whatever the criteria was for them to come in. Drug testing, to me, was a big red flag when I saw it. Another thing was, is there any kind of impact study that's going to be done? What's going on with the neighborhood? Is it going to affect housing prices and whatnot? Everybody's assuming that and saying that, but probably, but I'd like to see evidence for or against that. Which kind of brings me around to how long it's going to take to be completed, because I vaguely remember a U-Haul taking decades. There's an empty building down in the corner getting tagged constantly. I see a U-Haul, I think, oh, great, a business is going to be there. Not open, not open, not open, not open. I've lived here 30 years. Not open, not open, gang tags, not open. Finally, it opens. Can we expect the same speed for other things that are happening in the village of Gurnee? I don't know. I hope things would happen quicker than that, except for the impact study. Then, let's see, who decided that this is the thing to do? That's always, something good to look into, because, as was mentioned, conflicts of interest, is that a problem here? And I've also heard that this is going to be pushed through on June 15th, rather than having another village meeting to talk about it.
Why don't we stop there? That's not true. So
Okay.
there's be a full opportunity for when the issue does come up, where there'll be public notice provided. There'll be a full hearing. There'll be a full opportunity. So this isn't like your last chance to have something to say. You can come to future meetings and have other public comments. So, yeah, I don't want to have that out there where it's going to be done in the dark. It's going to be fully transparent.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Thank you for that. And that also came to mind because I just heard that someone is now on the planning committee, another person who has ties to pads. Did I just not hear that passed earlier?
I don't mean it to be. It's
Okay.
If you like to make your statements, that's the best way to do it.
I thought I heard that, so I'm throwing it out there in case other people missed that. And that's all for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Please state your name.
Good evening. My name is Linas Tomaitis. I live at 1029 Magnolia Avenue with my wife and two 5-year twins. So our concern is, my family concerned with the safety in our neighborhood regarding the pets. The reason why I don't want to start the big polemics, I just did some small research about the shelters. So who lives in there, what kind of people lives in there, and how it little bit affects the neighborhood. It's not like complete research because I didn't have enough time. It was very, very fast. So the numbers, I just want everybody think who gonna be living in there, and Pat saying is safe, will be safe. I'm not agree with that, because first is a 30% substance users. Now, what they're going to be using, where they're going to get the money for it, that's the question. I don't have answers from it. Second, there are 30% of mental health, mental illness people who lives in there. Now, are they going to have doctors in there? Who going to care of that? Now you have a drug user who has a mental issue. There is a double problem. Second is that 30% of the homeless people are chronic people who homeless chronically. That means they never be housed and they gonna live on the street for the rest of their lives. So now we have 90 people who gonna live for 90 days in the homeless shelter, right? And then after 90 days, they're gonna release those people. So 30%, so it's 30 people who is a chronic homeless, where they're gonna go. Now, in the year is
Do your best to speak into the
I'm sorry.
microphone. So.
In the year is let's say four releases or from the home shelter. So we're gonna have about 120 people who are gonna start wandering Gurnee streets because they have nowhere to go, right? What we're gonna do with those people? And it's my neighborhood, so nobody disagree with me. Then if first, the homeless shelters brings the loitering. That's already, it's not going to be look better than it looks right now. Another part is just 20% of people has a cars. 80% doesn't have a cars. So how are they going to be reaching the shelter? Because they're going to have to arrive in Waukegan. Then from Waukegan, they have to somehow get to the shelter in Gurnee. How is that going to look? They're going to be just wandering the streets. On the way of the wandering the streets, it's many things can happen. Besides that, I found out as well that it's not going to be shelter for the kids and families. It's a shelter for single person. So most of them men, because about 60% of the homeless people are men, 40 women. So most of them will be men. So men are strong. It is they get violent. It's so hard to control them. Now I just read some articles from Los Angeles people who already have some issues like that. Homeless people 513 times more likely commit crime than the regular people. So this shelter is not permanent solution. Let's say if we help those homeless people, it's just permanent somehow shelter. What after that, those old people gonna be left hanging in the street. So I and my kids will not gonna be safe in that kind of environment to live. So that's all we wanted to see, that my family is so against that. So please do not let it happen. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am, please state your name.
Hello, my name is Carrie Wagner. Today I come before you with grave concerns regarding the proposal to establish a homeless shelter within our community. While the intent behind such a facility may be noble, we cannot afford to overlook the significant risks it poses to safety, property values, and future prosperity of our neighborhood. Let's be clear, the placement of a homeless shelter in close proximity to a residential area such as schools, parks, and our senior centers is a recipe for disaster. We're potentially inviting a population with complex needs, including individuals struggling with addiction, mental health issues, and yes, even those with criminal backgrounds into our midst without adequate safeguards in place. Excuse me. Consider the impact on resident safety. We cannot ignore the very real possibility of increased crime rates, disturbances, and threats to well-beings of our families. Is this a risk we're willing to take? Moreover, property values are at stake. For many of us, our homes represent our single largest investment. The presence of a homeless shelter nearby could drive down property values, jeopardizing the financial security of countless families of our community. Let's not forget the broader implications of the revitalization efforts of East Gurnee. How can we expect to attract new investors and businesses to an area overshadowed by the specter of a homeless shelter? This is a setback we simply cannot afford. As we consider this proposal, we must demand answers to some tough questions. What concrete measures will be taken to ensure the safety and security of our residents, especially in light of the shelter's proximity to a vulnerable populations? What is the admission criteria and how will it be enforced? What resources will be allocated to support individuals struggling with addiction, mental health issues, and criminal backgrounds? And what assurances do we have that these services will be effective in integrating them into productive members of our society? Will there be stringent regulations in place, including curfews and behavioral expectations, to prevent disturbances and to maintain order in our community? What guarantees do we have that regarding transportation arrangements? We can't afford to have individuals loitering or engaging in undesirable behavior in the vicinity of the shelter. Before I conclude, I must address a troubling discovery that has come to light. It has recently come to my attention, and as I'm sure it has to many of you, that a village trustee holds the position of president of PADS. This revelation raises serious questions about potential conflicts of interest and calls into question the transparency of our governance. It's deeply concerning that such a significant connection was not made transparent from the outset. How can we trust the decisions made by this trustee are truly in the best interest of our community rather than influenced by their position within PADS? The conflict of interest casts a shadow of doubt over the integrity of our decision-making process. It erodes the trust between the board and the community it serves. We can't afford to turn a blind eye on such discrepancy, especially when we have the potential to impact critical decisions that affect all of us. Transparency is not just a buzzword. It's the cornerstone of accountability and governance. As residents, we have a right to full disclosure of clarity and affiliations and interests of our elected representatives. Anything less undermines the very foundation of our democracy. In conclusion, I implored the board to address the matter with seriousness and urgency it deserves. We cannot allow conflicts of interest to compromise the integrity of our decision-making process. The trust of the community hangs in the balance.
Thank you, ma'am. Please step up to the microphone and state your name, please.
Hi, my name is Jay, and I live on Belle Plaine Avenue near the proposed homeless shelter site. And PADS has asked us to look to the Evanston and DuPage shelters as examples of how this shelter might work in our own communities. Well, we did. There are documented lawsuits that provide a picture of how the Evanston homeless shelter affected the community. The owner of the apartment building near the shelter filed a lawsuit claiming the shelter, quote, has damaged the surrounding neighborhood, causing an increase in criminal activity, police and emergency services involvement, and overwhelming panhandling and loitering, changing the area into an unsafe and unwelcoming environment, unquote. A resident living near the shelter stated in an article, quote, the magnet effect is attracting vagrants and persons claiming to be homeless from all over the region to Evanston, end quote. The construction on Route 41 overpasses and intersection lasted more than a decade and was directly responsible for the commercial decline of East Grand Avenue. Now the village has a responsibility to the residents and businesses to help renew the area. While the community is aware of how problematic the current Fairbridge Inn property is, we do not believe the only options are to either keep the Fairbridge Inn in its current state or convert it to a homeless shelter. Nowhere in the 2016 revitalization strategies for East Grand Avenue does it state a homeless shelter as part of the revitalization. And yes, there are other vacant lots on East Grand, but how will having a homeless shelter in walking distance affect new businesses' interest in coming to the area? I have been a Gurnee resident for 16 years, and I'm an active voter. I believe in Mayor Hood's mayoral vision, which states his plan is to aggressively cultivate new business opportunities and encourage their investment in the village of Gurnee. I ask for the village board to support this community by advocating for new business at 3740 East Grand Avenue as an alternative option to a homeless shelter. And if this should come down to a vote amongst village board members, for the special use permit due to the conflict of interest, I respectfully request the board consider asking Trustee Woodside to recuse himself. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Yes, ma'am, please state your name.
My name is Martha Padilla Ramos, and I'm a resident of Waukegan, and my home is one long block away from the PADS shelter in Waukegan, which is located on Grand and Lewis. I'm also on the board for the Independence Center, which has residents that have needs, and so we also have some of the Independence Center patients mixed in with PADS. Presently, if you go visit Grand and Lewis, you should see what's going on over there, okay? So part of it is they're in the parking lot that's across the street from where they stay at. There's always like pandering, they're hanging out there drinking. There's sex even going on in the cars and out in the public. And my friend, she owns Lino's, they have Lino's, and she's seeing this all the time because her business is right on Grand and Lewis. So they're constantly coming into her business, okay? They're dealing with them in the winter, coming in there, because they have to have somewhere to hang out. They're walking around asking for money. They go into a lot of the businesses asking for money. They got kicked out of the base location. Remember, they were based by the Great Lakes by the hospital. They got kicked out of there. I want to see how are they going to handle peddling, because they're going to be doing it on 41 and Grand. While these people are waiting in traffic for the light to change, they're going to be going up to the cars and asking for money. The other thing, too, that's going to happen is that they're going to be crossing the street. They're going to be crossing in the middle of 41 and Grand, because when they get off the bus from wherever they go roaming around to, they're not going to respect to go to the corner. They're going to be crossing in the middle of the traffic, going back and forth. And we have that senior center across the street, the senior residents. That's not fair to them. So they're going to have to be watching when they come out, because that's what I have to do. Is sometimes when there's someone walking on the street, I just go around the block and wait until they're gone for me to come into my home. Okay? So that's another thing, is that the seniors are going to have to be very careful when they're coming out to their cars, because they're going to be across the street. But the other thing too is drug dealers. You know, there's no drug no drug screening or anything, so they're going to be coming around to make their deliveries. Okay. The other thing too is that like you saw is that there's no rules. Okay, so what you're doing is you're consolidating, all the cream of the crop into one area. So the police are going to be called out, because that's what happens all the time at our Independence Center and PADS location in Waukegan. Police are constantly there because there's always confrontations between these patients, well, not really patients, but these residents. So I advise for you to go and visit Waukegan and go see how PADS is over there before you make any decision regarding bringing this to Gurnee. Thank you.
We were doing really well so far. You guys are great, so yeah.
Hello.
Yes.
My name's Karen Roswadowski. I live at 1432 Belle Plaine. I've been a resident and owned my home for 36 years. And I feel that Gurnee has let us down on the east side. I have a flyer from 2016, new improvements sprouting. Where? I mean, it's gotten so bad.
Okay, we're not going to do that, all right? Please don't make those comments. That just doesn't help.
It's gotten bad.
Thanks.
Okay, and you look at any of the businesses on Belle Plaine and Grand, there's trash everywhere. Nobody takes care of anything there. I've had to call the leasing store people so that they can get them out to clean it. It falls on deaf ears. Also, on Belle Plaine, it's like a raceway. No offense to Gurnee Police. I have raised my concerns with that. I live kitty corner across the street from the park, and there are children there. And this homeless center is not going to bring anything that is going to help us. And we are the taxpayers, and we are the ones that need the help right now from you to do what you need to do to not make this happen. I also, through the grapevine, may be true, maybe not, that one of the people in public and engineering, or engineering department, okay, I just lost my train of thought, hold on. That,
Take your time, that's all right.
my brain just went off. Anyway, I don't want to make this long, but I just want you to realize that most of you don't live in our neighborhood, and we're the ones that are going to be affected by it. I have one of my middle child who lives on Magnolia, and I have grandchildren, and that's the last thing I want. I mean, I already have issues with, when they redid the road on Belle Plaine, I tried to get a speed table to put in. No, we can't do that because of the snowplows. Now, I know that's not relevant to this, but the east side of Gurnee has been forgotten, and this is not helping. We need you and your help to help us with our neighborhood. I was here for 36 years. The only thing that was on the west side was Great America. It was a gravel road, and we had Great America and Hunt Club Farms. That was it. So, please, think of us, the residents, when you make whatever decision that may be. And I hope that, whatever that may be, you'll be able to sleep at night. Thank you.
Thanks. Please state your name, sir.
My name's Dwayne Balcom. I live at 3496 Meadowcrest Circle, and I heard about the shelter potentially coming in, and I certainly don't want to see it in the neighborhood. I live in a beautiful home, so I think, on a corner lot there at that address I just named, and I see what comes through the neighborhood now. My cul-de-sac happens to back up to the Jewel, which is on Green Bay Road. There's an opening at the end of that cul-de-sac where the fence, I don't know if it's the Jewel's property or it's the homeowner that owns the lot that's there. I've been trying to get that fenced off and closed up because they walk through there. Although it's been a convenience to the neighbors in the neighborhood to walk and go get groceries. I'm a little more concerned about what walks through there when it's not the neighbors going to get groceries. I walk my dog, and I happen to walk to the south. There's a village-owned water retention basin right there, and it actually, the path goes out to Grand Avenue. Well, I walk my dog and go out to Grand Avenue, and just happen to see some individuals back there, and happen to be shooting up sitting there. and I'm walking my dog, and I said, "Are you kidding me? Like, what are you guys doing?" You know, and they just kind of shook their head and got up and started moving. But I certainly don't want to see that. As you've heard, I mean, there's schools, there's a lot of children just in my subdivision alone. There's a lot of kids in there, and there's a park, you know. I mean, there's got to be other places, another location that this can go, you know. I mean, I'm not opposed to helping the homeless, but putting it in a residential neighborhood I don't think is the best idea. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Please state your name, sir.
My name is Greg Hurlbut. I live on North Greenleaf Street in close proximity to Grand Avenue, also in close proximity to the Swanson and Trigg Conservation Area. We have dealt with some of the homeless population in the actual nature preserve area. We've encountered hypodermic needles laying on the sides of the trail, drug paraphernalia, you know, glass pipes, things of that nature. I have a wife and 2 young children. And I think the fundamental issue that most of us can agree on is the most important thing is the innocence of our children. You have 4 schools within 1.6 miles diameter of where this proposed homeless shelter is going to be. One of my children passes that site twice a day on a school bus. It pains me to think of what I'm going to have to explain to him when he comes home and asks me questions. I think at the end of the day, property values are kind of a secondary concern to most people here. At the end of the day, what we're most concerned about is our family's safety. In a time where common sense isn't very common, I would hope that the village board uses common sense and logic when it boils down, and you think of the taxpayers. Nobody wants to see people homeless, but at the same time, I don't want to sell my house. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, sir. Yes, ma'am, please state your name.
I'm Shorty.
You have it pointed down enough? Yeah.
Yeah. I'm here tonight to echo
Give me your
and
name, please.
my name is Roberta Torres. I live at 421 Hawthorne. I'm a 25-year resident of Gurnee. Here to amplify and to echo some of the things that my neighbors have said tonight. I am here tonight to express my deep concern regarding the proposed plans to convert the building on Waveland Avenue into a homeless shelter. While I understand the importance of addressing homelessness in our community, I firmly believe that this particular location in a residential area is not such a place for this facility. First and foremost, the conversion of the building into a homeless shelter is likely to have detrimental impact on property values in the surrounding area. I did a little bit of research, and what I'm seeing is that between 3.1% and 7% decrease in property values within a mile surrounding a homeless shelter. This not only affects homeowners, but also the broader economic implications for the community. The repercussions of diminished property values extend beyond individual homeowners to the broader community and our local Gurnee economy. A decline in these property values will erode homeowners' equity, making it more difficult for them to access credit and reinvest in their homes. The proposed shelter's proximity to businesses that have historically struggled to gain momentum raises serious concern about the potential for increased crime in the area. Businesses already facing challenges will be likely further burdened by issues of vandalism, theft, and loitering. This could ultimately undermine efforts to revitalize the area and create a thriving business environment on the east side of Gurnee. By situating a homeless shelter nearby, we risk undermining the progress and potential growth of these businesses. I urge the village board to reconsider its plans to allow this and explore alternative locations for this homeless shelter to minimize the negative impact on property values, businesses, and the community at large. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Please state your name.
Hi, I'm Becky Kutsinas. I live on Belle Plaine Avenue, a third of a mile from the proposed site. Thanks to each trustee and Mayor Hood for supporting our youth. Thanks also Mayor Hood for Gurnee Educator of the Year award presentations. Thanks to Trustee O'Brien for partnering with a school district where middle school students presented ideas for future businesses coming to Gurnee, to come to Gurnee. Thanks to Economic Director Ellen Dean for her mentorship. When students work in school to solve real-world problems like vacant spaces in Gurnee, adults learn new ideas and students learn their work matters. I'm asking you as a board and the mayor to work with Economic Director Ellen Dean and staff to expand partnerships with other school districts, including possibly the College of Lake County, to discover and plan out ways to attract new businesses to the east side of Gurnee, including at the current Fairbridge Inn Motel. In the past years, I heard that Old Handy Andy wouldn't get torn down. Yes, Gurnee asked, and yes, U-Haul did turn that area into a business where our family now pays to store Christmas decorations. Several of our village trustees united in support of the Youth of Tomorrow at Warren Township High School, and the referendum passed, so students did not have to leave school an hour early daily. When students and community unite, students and families learn that voting matters. Now, I'm asking for expanding the partnership between area schools of different classrooms and ages and the village of Gurnee to examine the revitalization strategies of 2016, the comprehensive Gurnee plan of 2040, and find new businesses for vacant buildings on East Grand and a new business for Fairbridge Inn. When students work in school helps solve real-world problems like recruiting a business to Fairbridge Inn and other vacant buildings on the east side of Gurnee, students learn their work matters. Residents learn our trustees are representing the residents who live closest to the Gurnee East Grand Avenue businesses. I live on Belle Plaine. I walk young children to Gurnee's gold medal winning Park District parks on Belle Plaine. I bought gift cards to Big Norm's and Gurnee Garden Center on East Grand Avenue for others to experience delicious food and beautiful flowers. Family members walked to take lessons from Lee's Taekwondo on East Grand. We buy paint from Sherwin-Williams on East Grand for our 1947 house, which needed a lot of paint. Let's add a business where Fairbridge Inn is located. 2016 East Grand Revitalization Plan mentions a future grocery store. I'd support a Fresh Time or other grocery store at the old Habitat building. That the years of construction on the Gurnee 2016 East Grand Revitalization Plan also says that the years of construction on US 41 had a significant impact on corridor businesses. Now, it's time to partner with our youth to bring new businesses to East Gurnee, including the Fairbridge Inn property. Thank you.
Thank you. Please state your name, sir.
It's John Hamlin. I live on Magnolia. Been in the same house for about 25 years. I was at the last meeting too. I think a lot of people here were as well. I just want to understand how we got to this point to where we're looking at this hotel, right, as turning into a homeless shelter. Where else did you guys investigate? Has this been your only focus, right? Is this the only place that you have done any work on and decided that, hey, we might be able to use this? Or are there other places in Gurnee that you're considering? I'm asking you the question.
I don't like to answer a bunch of questions, but this will be one of those free market examples. There's a seller and a buyer, and we as a village, as you heard Mr. Ziegler speak, We act as like the referee in terms of deciding zoning and other things. So it's not like the village went out and sought a homeless shelter. That's not what we did. But once one makes the inquiry, then we need, and we owe it to our citizens as well as the business, to search it out, bring it out in the public, give everybody the opportunity to say what they want to say.
Is that what you're doing right now?
That's right. There's a seller and a buyer involved. So I don't want to mislead people to think this was the village's doing. We're certainly in the middle of it now, just like you guys are. But I don't want to mislead you that way. So I don't want to be a question and answer session. But I also think that's an important answer.
I'll ask one more question. Is there any other facilities that you're looking into now?
Okay, so that's not our function. We don't, that's not our job as a village to search for where businesses go to.
Who decided that that hotel might be something?
Okay, you said one question. You can make your comment, okay? No, go ahead and make your
I'm sorry,
comments.
I don't understand. I really don't understand.
Okay, so you can make your comments, and then I'd be happy to talk to you afterwards.
That'd be great.
Okay. Let's do it that way. Thanks.
Good evening. My name is Brad Evans. I live over on Highland Avenue. This gentleman over here made a good comment concerning Mr. Woodside there. I think he should be recused from the whole process. You're either a board member of Gurnee or you're the president of PADS, but you can't be both. There's definitely a conflict, and I'm sure he has talked to each and every one of you concerning the homeless shelter. My cut is he needs to be out of this thing completely, no input. Sorry about that. Second item was we've already experienced the homeless folks over on Highland Avenue. About a month and a half ago, there was a couple homeless gentlemen walking around the neighborhood trying to get into people's cars. I found out about it the second day, or day after, and I have a home security system, so I went back and looked at my cameras, and I know that on the 28th they said all residents of the homeless shelter have to be in by 10. That's great. Except these guys were getting into the cars at 7:30. So they had, even if there was a shelter, they had to have plenty of time to get back. But I called the police, they came over, the patrolman went ahead and used his camera, or his iPhone there, and recorded the entire process where the gentleman was tracked from the neighbor's house on the corner down to my across the street neighbor, over into my house. Now, unfortunately, I screwed up and I moved the car and I didn't lock the door. So he got into my Subaru. I couldn't find anything stolen, but I noticed on the camera when he got out of my Subaru, he walked over to the Kia, couldn't get into the Kia, and then he moved over to the next neighbors. So, like I say, we're already experienced homelessness, and by the way, the guy was let go that evening, I guess. But bottom line is, he was there. They were there. They had him on Ring cameras and other things, and that's how they got arrested. The last item I want to mention is the notification about addressing the mayor and other folks about the homeless situation. I'm 74. I don't have Facebook. I don't have any social media stuff whatsoever. It's of no interest to me. However, I did find out that there was this Facebook poll, so the mayor would have information from the citizens and from East Gurnee. And after they found out people were joining the Gurnee community and the emails, all of a sudden the Facebook kind of was hidden, went away. And so I would be more than happy, Mr. Mayor, I'd come down here and fill out a poll information sheet for you with, I hate to say it, some negative information. But those are the three things. Mr. Woodside, we already have the homeless walking around our neighborhood, and the notification through Facebook and it disappearing somewhere off the line that people could not respond. In fact, I didn't even know about it until my neighbor, who does have Facebook, notified me. Same thing happened with your all's first meeting about homelessness. There was nothing that was put out that I am aware of. I found out from my next door neighbor, who found out from a friend of hers that, oh, there was a meeting here on the 28th. That's why I showed up. There was a lack of information, a lack of communication going on that the residents of Gurnee are not aware of, and it's up to the village of Gurnee to ensure that that information gets out. Thank you all very much.
Thanks. Thank you, sir. Please state your name, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Mary Barrera. I live at 1575 Belle Plaine Avenue. It was brought to my attention when I called last week to speak with Mr. Ziegler that the city of Gurnee had offered to buy the Fairbridge building, but they didn't want to sell. The owners of Fairbridge did not want to sell to the city of Gurnee. Whether that's true or not, I would really like to know the answer to that, if that was the truth. And secondly, like my neighbor was talking about the traffic on Belle Plaine, it is god awful. Yet last week, I was coming down Belle Plaine. There was a car in front of me. I was at Glen Flora. There was a stop sign there. There was myself, right, waiting. We waited. A car behind me went and, I mean, just flew around us, blew through the stop sign, flew past the park, flew past the next stop sign at Atlantic, and I mean, it was like dust in the wind. When are we going to get something done about the traffic too, the speeding on Belle Plaine Avenue? I've raised 6 kids at my property. Now I have 7 grandchildren that come daily to my house, and especially now, the school's almost out, so guess who's watching the kids? Grandma. So they will be, they'll be at my house, and they frequently ask me to go to the park. They can't go without me, period. But we really do need the traffic addressed there. It's ridiculous. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you for your comments, ma'am. Yes, sir, if you could please state your name.
Yes, Mateen Kumavala. I live in the neighborhood. And thank you for representing Gurnee here. But I would just begin by saying, as elected officials are elected by the communities that we live in. And when you are elected, position of leaderships has responsibility and accountability attached to it. You make decisions for the community. If the community is suffering and if they are speaking up and voicing concerns, we all need to account for those. And if those people who do not, it's not right onto them and the legacy that they pass on. We're just going to make village more deteriorating one day, another day. I've been living in this community for 20 years. When we came into this community, we were going to move on the west side. After approaching Village Hall and other people looking at the schools, we wanted to raise our kid so that she can go to River Trail School. What was our choice? Not to live in the west, come to the east. We were given vision of sprawling neighborhoods. We were going to do investments. We're going to do this. What did I see in this 20 years? The shopping centers all the way up to Plaine, I've seen businesses close down. There are businesses who have moved from there to the west side of Gurnee. We have seen 2 improvements, I would say, in my 20 years. One is the senior living that came in. I welcomed that. The other one was the interchange. That took 10 years. Yes, it was miserable life at then, but we are happy that right now we have an interchange that we can The traffic is still a concern because exiting Waveland Avenue to Grand Avenue to make 41 is a nightmare. So do I care about homeless people? That's the question people ask when you talk against something. You do care. But then how does it impact your community? Who are voicing those sort of decisions saying, put the pads up there, and is the fair bridge a fair game for pads to buy from federal dollars? They're getting free money to buy a property that's maybe not worth maybe $3 million, but they're going to pay almost $10 million to buy. Who knows? I'm just making it up numbers. It affects the community, it affects me, it affects our neighborhood. We did not find out this in a transparent way to begin with. So do I have questions? It began with questions because when you're not transparent to offset and not indulge the community, how can community trust you? How can community even think that you are doing something great or for the good of the community? I've looked at pads. They're doing good work. I'm not against the work. What we as community, as our elected officials have done, learn from other neighborhoods, learn from other installations of pads, whether it's Evanston, whether it's Los Angeles, wherever that is. Yes, I'm shaking, but at the same time, I'll tell you this. It means a lot to stand up and talk about it. I'm not a person who stands up and just talks about things.
Thanks for doing that.
So if you think about it, just give me a moment. If you give me a moment on that, from morning until my day that I come back from school, when I come back from school, I see school buses. When I go to drop my kid, I'm seeing school buses in the whole neighborhood. I'm also seeing daycare houses that's right off the Waveland Avenue. And there are lots of kids. If 20 years, nothing was done in the East Side, why am I hopeful now that you will make the right decisions? You had good opportunities, and we still have opportunities to make the right decisions. Are we going to just do that? I leave you with one notion. Respect the community, respect the neighbors who are affected or directly impacted. Thank you.
Thank you for your time, sir. All right, I'll give you one exception to clapping, all right? I'll give you that one, all right?
Hello, Jose
State your
Torres.
name, sir.
Jose Torres, I live at 3740 Grandmore Avenue. I just would like to ask, we were here at the last meeting, they specified about beautifying the neighborhood. The village of Gurnee has let down the east side, we all know that. We also know that it's an eyesore that Fairbanks in. There's loitering there, you know. Why has Fairbanks not been
All right,
to the same,
not going to be helpful.
to the same qualities of everybody? If our yards are not cut, you guys are honest to give us a ticket. How come they have a garage door that's been broke right in front for 2 years, and the village of Gurnee has done nothing about that? Why is that? We don't understand why they're not held to the same standards as everybody else. Why has it become such an eyesore? That was my question for you guys.
Thank you, thank you. Please state
Hi.
your name, sir.
My name is Javier Ospina. I live in 3512 Crescent for 28 years. Before that, I lived in Waukegan for 11 years. So we changed to Gurnee for better place, better schools, everything. Now I'm retired. And then I spend a lot of time at home. I live right there by the bike path in 3512 Crescent. I see school buses coming, like about 5, 6 school buses. And I could see how people don't have no patience when those school buses stop. All the traffic for Grand Avenue is coming for our biplane and in Crescent. I don't know why. Because they're gonna be maybe because they don't want to stop in the light or something grand or something like that. But they're gonna be the same way in our streets. And then I be listening everyone talking. I be living for many years there, and I don't have no kids no more in the house. I'm retired, but when the people have kids and stuff like that, this unbelievable. I mean, it's crazy because every year, instead of go up, it's go down and down and down our streets. You can walk by the bike path because you start seeing people that you don't recognize. My house is being broke already. So I just hear that these things is going to be coming through our neighborhood. Why? I mean, instead of go up, why we go down? Where are all those people coming from? Where are all those people coming from? Why we have to take care of them? I mean, it's things that, we have schools around. We have, other people living around. That's scary. I mean, before you live in very nice and no problem and this and that, and now you can leave your car on the driveway because who knows what's going to happen. So this is my concern. I'm very sad that this is happening. I know I'm retired and who knows where I'm going to go, but hey, it's not the case. It's not the case. I have a lot of problems to get the house that I really want for take my kid to good schools and stuff like that. And I see every year go down. Why? So that's what I have to say.
All right,
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Please state your name, ma'am.
My name is Debbie Hazelton. I also live on Belle Plaine, and I am a lifelong resident of Gurnee, as well as several generations before me. So I do come to this meeting to let you know that I volunteered for PADS for decades. I cooked and baked and did all that stuff, and I worked at the homeless shelters or the homeless facilities in Waukegan. And as a volunteer, I also am an employee at the Gurnee Garden Center. So this really impacts me really close. The east side of Gurnee, I don't have to repeat everything, everybody said such great things, but the east side of Gurnee has dealt with the ETO problem. It's dealt with, all the stuff with the buildings. I just contacted the village about the old Leaf building. The landlord there, I talked to some of the renters there, the businesses, and they said the landlord is like an absentee landlord. So it sounds like you've got more problems than just the Fair Bridge. I did see a gentleman out there the very next day mowing the trash with the grass and left all the trash with the grass. I took pictures, so I'll be sending those tonight to whoever looked at them the other day. And did cut the sign, or the tree that was growing out in the sign, so that you could actually see what the sign says. You know, it's got the signorama, and it's also got the taekwondo place there. And then left the entire pile of debris right next to the sign, as well as some kind of old motor or something that's in there. Did no weed whacking, no trimming of bushes or anything. So the whole east side of Gurnee, besides having a ton of thrift stores and a really nasty bargain place now, I mean, is there any way that you guys can help me stay on that side of town? Because I really don't want to stay there anymore. And I've lived here my entire life. I've raised my children here, and I've volunteered at the schools, and I don't even go on the bike path anymore. I used to walk my dogs all the time on the bike path. I wouldn't even set foot on the bike path, and then I'm no prize. So I mean, you know, but I will not go on the bike path. But I do see a couple people in this room that do walk by themselves, that are women, on a regular basis. And I worry for them. I worry for them, and I watch out for them as I, you know, if I see anything, or if I see somebody, you know, getting close to them, I just circle around and just kind of keep an eye on them. But, you know, that's what we need you to do for us. We need you to circle around and take care of us and help us make our little side of Gurnee part of Gurnee. Just because 41 is there doesn't mean that we're not a part of you guys, because we are. And we've been here for a really long time. I've been in my home for over 40 years. So, you know, I'm just asking you, when you do go to make that vote, that you think about everything you've heard tonight, and think about, you know, that my kids are grown, so I don't have to worry about that anymore, but there's other things to worry about, like people have addressed. So just want to thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments. Please state your name, ma'am.
Adela Gomez. I live in 1019 Waveland Avenue. I have a home daycare for the last 10 years. And I'm sorry, my English is not that good. I'm still working on that, but I have a friend who is going to translate me.
Okay.
Do you need me to say my name too?
Sure.
Okay.
Yes.
I live in the area as well too. My name is Betsaida Rivera.
Yeah. And feel free to just take your time and whatever you need to say, and if you'd like to translate it, that would be really helpful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lo único que quiero decir es que por los últimos más o menos 3 años, me he sentido muy insegura de salir con mínimo 16 niños.
Okay. She says that in the last 3 years, she's felt very uncomfortable walking out with at least 16 of her kids. She is a home daycare.
Sí. Nosotros usualmente caminamos a sacar a los niños al parque.
Usually she takes the children she watches to the park.
Y he visto que ya no podemos sacarlo. Y cada año después de yo pagar mis taxas, estoy pensando cuál de mis áreas voy a mejorar, en dónde tengo que invertir por la seguridad de mi negocio y de mis niños.
Dime otra vez.
Los últimos años he estado invirtiendo mucho en mi casa para la seguridad de los niños.
Okay.
Después de pagar mis taxas, yo siempre estoy viendo qué voy a arreglar ahora.
So over the years, she's been, you know, she pays her taxes. So she's been improving her home. So for the best, you know, of the kids that she's watching.
Yeah, every year I pay my taxes and I say, oh, I have to fix something, you know, in my house to look better and to have more safety spaces and my areas to be clean and nice. And how can I be, as a single mom, and I live alone in this house, how can I feel comfortable, you know, fixing and try to have everything nice and beautiful for my clients? Hi. If in the corner, many people is talking about the same thing, that place is horrible. It looks terrible. And how me, as a single mom, I've been working hard, you know, to have everything nice around. in that place is, who's going to call me as a parent to have their kids right there? I pay advertising, everything. And when they look for a place for their children, they're going to look that a place like that is going to be around there. And it's not only me, it's around 6 home daycares around me. I help one of my neighbors to open her own in front of me, and she's doing exactly the same thing. She's fixing all her areas around her house, to look beautiful like now, right? She's always, saying nice things about me. She said, Adela, your house is beautiful. You're making everything nice for your clients. And she's follow me. I'm as a sample for her. And you know what? It's so hard to see this place, and I feel sad because later my business is going to be down. The parents are not going to feel secure. And we really need people who are in charge of this to stop and look for another place. And sorry, I try to do my best to speak in English.
You did a really good job. Thank you.
I hope people who are in charge of this think about the neighbor, because we try to improve, to be at least me, I try to do my best for my clients and to fix. When I bought this house 10 years ago, and I got there, I'm about to cry because I say it's the only thing I can able to pay. Mm-hmm. But now, I'm proud of me because I fix and everything looks nice.
Thank you for your comment.
For you and for all my clients.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for your comments. Please state your name, sir.
My name is Chris Farley. I lived in Gurnee for 20 years. I live on the west side, and I'm pretty practical and mathematical, I'd say. So I don't know if anybody remembers, but today we should pay our tax bill, at least half of it. Mm-hmm. So I paid that today. It's the largest tax bill that I've paid since I've been here. I have felt under threat that Gurnee would institute a real estate tax because of the possibilities of losing revenue. I understand how the village receives revenue. It's basically through taxing its sales tax. I mean, you guys can tell me a lot more about that, but so what I'm thinking is I heard, the home values will drop between 3% and 7%. So that's a loss of tax revenue to the county and the state, except they'll balance that out. But it's also going to possibly lose revenue because a business is not being attracted. So what I'm really in fear of is if the village can't get the revenue one way, they'll get it another way, and they'll institute the real estate tax that I've been felt threatened for the last 10 years. That's going to put me over the edge. I want to stay, but if that tax gets instituted, I can't afford to stay. So I'm on the west side. I don't have the same feeling of the danger, but I can understand it. But I'm thinking of the financial danger. So the first question that I have, which I know you won't answer, by putting a homeless shelter in that area, what's in it for you? Thank you.
No comment. Let's keep that. You guys have done great. We've done great together. So please state your name, sir.
Good evening. My name is Zachary Byer. I live at the corner of Atlantic and Magnolia. I'm not going to be a dead horse because all my other people in my neighborhood have basically laid out all the points about the homeless shelter. However, I just want to state that I have lived in Gurnee for almost 29 years now, ever since I was born, minus my time in the hospital. I have been a homeowner for the last year, unfortunately after my mom unexpectedly passed away last year. But I would like to continue, obviously, living in the house I got because she left it to me, and I worked out in a pretty good situation. I work at the emissions place right on the corner, so that neighborhood is basically my area. I taught at least Taekwondo for 10 years, and when I'm not here, I also take care of my friend's mom, who lives right by Waveland. Her daughter is in Milwaukee as a mortician, so I check up on her frequently. About 2 years ago, during a snowstorm, I had to go to her house because someone had tried to break in while she was in there. And the police were able to track it down to being one of the vagrants who has populated our area. Now, I'm not against fighting homelessness or anything. However, what everyone has brought up is the methods of which PADS will supposedly operate if it chooses to exist there. Now, I do not believe that that would actually help fight homelessness. There's no easy way to talk about fighting homelessness, but I do believe it will exacerbate the problems that are already there. And that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Hello, ma'am. Please state your name.
Hello, I'm Gabby Carranza. I operate home daycare on Waveland Avenue within walking distance of the hotel. I'm just very concerned about the safety of the community if this project goes through, because it's only me and my house with 8 daycare children. Alone in the house, we go out in the neighborhood for walks. And I'm just concerned, on how will that affect the safety of the community and, me with 8 kids on my responsibility. People are in the neighborhood walking around and, things can happen. So I'm just concerned about the safety of the community and my daycare kids because they're my responsibility. So I feel like I'm against this PADS opening on the neighborhood. That's all.
Thank you for your comments.
My name is Roxanne Michaels. I live on the East Corridor side. I have lived there 20-some years in my house, but my family has lived over 50 years on that side. I have experienced the village not doing anything on our East Corridor for many years. I too call the village and complain about the mowing, that there hasn't been any work done on that side of the, our area. You go over to the west side, everything looks all nice and pretty. They did mow, they need to weed whack, they need to clean up. The gentleman from PADS the other day that spoke said that you basically are gonna beautify it over there with a fence. I feel a little bit worried about the fence. I also am concerned about the safety of the people that are working at PADS. When we were told that there was only gonna be about 3 people working there, I used to work at the jail. I took care of 60 inmates on my own. I know exactly how that is. And for someone that's not gonna basically have experience on taking care of men and women, staying there, if there's a problem, I'm sure they're gonna be calling the police much sooner than later. So that would be a concern to me. I also am concerned about, I hate to name names on the board here, but Ms. Balmas, you are not paying attention. You are either on your phone with your head down and
Okay,
making smoke.
ma'am, that's not going to be okay to do that.
I'm sorry.
You can make a
I'm just
statement,
making
but
an
I don't want you to
awareness.
take, I don't want you to take on a board member. Just
Okay.
please make your statement about the issue.
And I also am concerned about, you guys sit here and had a discussion about a sign for the church. I would like to see that discussion carry on to the PADS discussion, the next board meeting, on how you guys discussed to whether pass the sign or not pass the sign. That seemed like a very big deal, so I'm hoping that you pay attention to the neighbors that are discussing and how concerned we are about the PADS being put into the neighborhood, considering our side basically has nothing too much to offer except 3 consignment stores within a walking distance. So that is my concern about it. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. So at this time, the floor will close to public comment. I just want to say a couple things. One is I really appreciate the civility that you showed, and I understand that this is a very, very personal issue to you. This is where you live. And I think that, I mean, over the last hour, 15 hour, 20, that we listen to what you have to say, and if you would like to continue, whether you write emails or other comments as thoughts come to mind, please feel free to do that. I would say this much, is at this point, there's no future meeting set for the issues with regard to, like tonight, this isn't set for the particular issues that deal with pads. That's a future meeting, which we'll provide notice for, but it's not going to happen at our next meeting. It's not on the agenda, but we will provide proper notice, so you'll have the opportunity to be able to hear. It's a public hearing where there'll be a presentation made, and also, as is the way we've worked in the past, you'll have an opportunity to speak again when PADS makes their presentation, provided they do that. I mean, there hasn't been a meeting set, so I can't say that'll actually happen. But it'll give you an opportunity to again speak and voice your opinions to us so that we can then, this is the best form of government from my perspective because we're your neighbors. And our desire is to best represent you best we know how. And we appreciate that you've come out to speak your opinion, and my door's open, and so are the trustees. They've done a really good job, if you've looked at over the last couple of years, in some very divisive issues that the neighbors have been pretty successful in communicating their ideas. And again, tonight, I think it just renews my hope in a very, very difficult issue that you've shown respect and honor to people and to each other. So I appreciate that you've done that tonight. So thanks for coming out. It gives me Gurnee's together on this. There's a unity that you've shown tonight that I appreciate. So I hope that you'll find that in the future we'll do our best to communicate with you. Maybe if there is a person or persons that would be a representative of a group. I mean, I didn't sense that there was a representative of a group, but then we can make sure, oh, there we go, that we would want, if we get your name and email, that we'd be able to communicate directly with you to make sure that if you have connection to the rest of these folks, that we'll do our best to communicate with you, but we want to give you specific information so that you know when the meetings happen, that you guys can come out in force, and just like you have tonight, to let your views be known. And we have no desire to do this in the dark, believe me. It's fully transparent, best we know how. We're imperfect people, so we're going to do our best to be able to communicate to you on a very difficult subject. So, but did you say somebody has your information, ma'am? Well, I mean, just afterwards, if you could just find me, and then I'll provide that, and yeah, that would be helpful.
And then, Mr. Mayor, also, basically, a request has to be presented for a public hearing by statute. Property owners within 200 feet. Actually, we stretch that to 500 feet. We'll give written notice of a public hearing. Also, by statute, the public hearing has to be published within 30 to 14 days before the hearing. So there will be advance notice when it goes, not first to this board, it goes to the Plan Commission, a different board first, and that's a public hearing. And that's an opportunity to hear a representative on behalf of the petitioner. The village has to listen to the petitioner, and then the village opens it up for public comment. So just to let you know that, that will be forthcoming, but there are those guaranteed notice provisions that you'll know about in advance.
All right, so thanks again for coming out tonight, and is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Trustee Malmus, second by Trustee O'Brien. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We're adjourned.